Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Rachel. Let's talk about calibrating your Cricut machine. If you're brand new to the Cricut world, the word calibration can seem pretty alien to you, and that's because it is. Once you do dip your toes into the universe that is Cricut machines, it can seem a little bit daunting and intimidating that there is so much to learn. Here at OakLand, we have absolutely just hit that head on with a training that will absolutely change your life if you happen to be new to Cricutting. You can join today our monthly membership. Use the code FUN, F-U-N, and you can join OakLand, which will allow you to gain access to our free course included in that membership. And that is great for Cricut makers, Cricut explorers, Cricut Joy Series machines, any Cricut that you might have, from opening the box to mastering design space and so much more. Our goal here is to make you confident and well-rounded with your machine. So if you are a beginner, join today for just $9.99. You will not regret it at all. Less than 10 bucks, less than a price of a large coffee from Starbucks. You can grab your membership here. And it does not just come with those amazing free courses, but we have over 1,000 digital cut files, all with free commercial use licensing, which means if you ever want to make money with your Cricut, once you get the hang of that machine, you can make projects with our cut files and sell them for profit completely free and completely legally, which is amazing. Also, we do have a member-only Facebook group, which is phenomenal. That is where all of our members flock together. They ask questions, they post pictures, they lift each other up, and they help inspire each other every single day. We also have member-only content, a backed library of member-only podcasts, and so much more. We would love for you to join OakLand. Click the link down below. Use the code FUN, F-U-N, at checkout to get that membership for your very first month for just $9.99. Now, calibrating your machine is something that every single Cricut user will have to do eventually if you have a Cricut with the capability of print and cut. Print and cut is a phenomenal feature. If you don't know what that is, I will link a video up above on how to print and cut, what is it, what can it be used for, the in and outs of that. Although free in that membership is the absolute best, very in-depth, super easy to digest type of content for your machine on how to print and cut, how to use vinyl, all the terminology you need to know, how to calibrate your machine, how to clean your machine. Everything you need to know is in that course. But today we're going to do a short version of how to calibrate your machine for those of you that do not know. Now, calibrating is, in like the grand scheme of things, a way for your Cricut to properly cut, print and cut projects. Basically, that's all that it is. So the Cricut has a sensor here, and down here, really, it's down there. There's a little light on it, and that is what scans the registration marks of your print and cut projects and allows it to cut precisely where it's supposed to cut once it does scan those registration marks. Now, if you don't know if your machine needs calibrating, then you haven't had this happen. If you have had this happen, a little light bulb will go off and you'll be like, oh, that's what that is. So have you ever printed and then cut a design or a cut file or what have you out of your Cricut and it be a little bit off center, or it's cut, the Cricut's cut well, but it hasn't cut in the center. It's cut a little bit off to the side or a little bit off to the bottom. That would mean that your calibration is off on your Cricut machine. I will plop a picture in here. It won't be the best quality picture, the clearest picture in the world. It is from an older video. Cricut does a decent job at updating its content as far as the software goes. So that other video, while you do calibrate your machine in a different way, now in 2024, that video is still relevant for what does a miscalibration look like. So I will pop that picture in so you guys can get a little visual of off calibration. You can just kind of see the edges are just a little cut off. It's not cut perfectly centered, and we don't want that. So you'll notice it right when you cut it. You won't notice it printing, obviously, but once the Cricut scanner senses and scans those registration marks and goes through and cuts that, you will be able to see very quickly if your machine is knocked off of caliber there. Now, how does this happen? Sometimes it's just completely random. It can just happen over time. Some people choose to calibrate their machines on a schedule, like twice a year or every other month or something like that. Us here at OakLand, we only do it when we see that it's an issue. It really doesn't happen. I'm going to throw out once a year, maybe we notice. And I feel like it's most common if you're really moving your machines around a lot, if you travel a lot, if you shut it up and throw it in your car and, you know, take it on trips, and or if you happen to be moving it a lot, if you have to go up and down stairs with your machines or move it from this place and that place. If you're not particularly the most gentle of Cricut owners, it can kind of knock that out of calibration as well. It does not mean that anything's wrong with your machine. It does not mean that anything's wrong with the sensor. It does not mean that you're being a bad Cricut owner. It's a part of it. It's a very normal, natural part of it. But like most things, or like 99% of things, Cricut does not tell you that you have to do this when you buy your machine. You just buy your machine, and really that's where the education stops. They don't really have a lot of education on mastering this machine, which is where OakLand comes in and fills that gap. So along with those phenomenal free courses with the booklet that has everything you need to know in it that you can keep right on your tabletop, we will teach you great things like this. So you will need a printer for this. We have a Canon Pixma inkjet printer and just some copy paper. It does not have to be thick cardstock or anything like that, but you do have to have a printer in order to calibrate your machine. It does not have to be a color printer or anything of that sort. However, if you happen to be doing print and cut, which is the only reason you would need to calibrate your machine, odds are you already have a printer. So we have that. We have our copy paper in here. Now, I'm a cord gal. You see a bunch of cords here. I've got one cord so that you can actually see my computer screen on the camera. I've got this cord plugged into my computer, plugged straight into the printer, and I have this cord plugged into my Cricut. You can do Bluetooth to both of these. I prefer to have them both corded. That's just how I like to do things. I feel like there's less user error there if they're all just plugged in. I don't have to fool with Bluetooth. That's just personal preference. So let's jump over to Design Space, and I'm going to be doing a lot of back and forth for you. You're going to be doing a lot of seeing my screen, seeing the Cricut, seeing my screen, seeing the mat. So I'll try and go slow and explain this. Now, one thing I do want to note is you might have to do this several times. I think our record is like 7 in a row, and you're like, what, Rachel, what does that mean? You'll see sometimes the Cricut will just not get calibrated perfectly, and you do have to do it multiple times. You don't have to do it multiple times in the same session if you don't want to. If you can get your calibration better than it was, you can call it a day and start doing your projects. Come back to it later to perfect it. Totally up to you. So let's go ahead to Design Space, and I'll share with you where you can find this in Cricut Design Space. Okay, here we are in Cricut Design Space. We have just opened up a canvas for us here, and where you will find your settings is going to be up here in the top right corner next to your name. You'll see this little emblem here. Just go ahead and click that, and now you'll go down here right here to Settings. Click Settings. Now you'll see all of this, but you're going to click Machines, okay? So once we click Machines, you can choose to do all of these functions if you happen to get a new machine, if you want to check if there's a firmware update, all that good stuff. Today, we're going to want to calibrate the machine. So we're going to go over here and select our device. This is a Maker 3. So with the Maker 3, because it has that adaptive tool system, you will have the opportunity to calibrate this for several different things. However, I want to make this video useful for every single Cricut owner who might not have access to a rotary blade or the knife blade or the capabilities of that adaptive tool system. So for this video today, what I've been talking about in the intro and all that, we're going to be calibrating for print and cut. Now you can go through and calibrate for your rotary blade and your knife blade. Just follow the steps. They're super easy. And if you guys want, leave us a comment down below if you happen to own a Cricut Maker 3 and you want some education on those calibrations. But today we're just using print and cut. Now, let's go back for a second. If you were to go through these steps here and click Explore 3 and Start, all you have is the option for print and cut. So it just depends on what machine that you have. But like I said, for this particular video, we're going to be using the print and cut machine calibration. So this says get the most accurate cuts for print and cut with print and cut calibration. So yes, I have that computer ready to go. It says that you're going to select your printer, load white paper and click print. So I'm going to go ahead and click print. And here is our sheet right here. So that is nice and printed. Now we're going to flip back to Cricut Design Space, right like that, and I'm going to share with you what's next. So now we click continue, and it says place the sheet in the top left corner of your mat and press continue. Now we're going to select our Cricut Maker via USB, and while that is loading, we're going to place this in the top right-hand corner, right like this. Now again, this is just copy paper. Doesn't have to be fancy paper or anything like that. So we're going to place this down. You can use a brayer if you want, but as long as you just place this down, it should be just fine. Okay, and over in Design Space, it will say, no tool required in clamp A, load the fine point blade into clamp B, and load the mat and press the load/unload button. And now once we loaded our mat in, it says to go ahead and press go. Now we'll just press the flashing Cricut button there. It is reading those registration marks, that registration square around there. It's reading those with the little light sensor here. Okay, now head over to Design Space, and it says, without unloading your mat, examine the cut lines around the small square in the middle of the calibration sheet. Does the cut lines touch the printed line all the way around? Now let's go over here, and honestly, the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to go ahead and pull this out, just like that. That way it's super, super easy to see if those cut lines are touching that printed black line all the way around, and they most certainly are not. You can see they're touching on two corners, but not the other two sides. So you can go ahead and take that now, place it on the side, and now we're gonna go back over to Design Space and click no, let's do a basic calibration. Now your machine is going to go through here and cut on all of these lines. I'm going to leave all this in real time for you guys too. I'm not going to speed any of this up. We normally do a lot of that just to save time, but I want you guys to see how quick this process is. So you're not sitting here forever or anything like that. The Cricut is just making pretty quick work of this. Back over in Design Space. It says, without unloading, examine the lines on the top and right sides of the calibration sheet. Use the drop down to select the number or the letter of the printed lines where the cut is centered with the printed line. So we're going to go back over, and this I really wish there was a way for us to show you super well, but you can see super clear where the Cricut has cut all these lines, but the one where it's mostly centered is 13 on the top, and the one where it's mostly centered here is L. So 13 and L. So now we'll go back to Design Space and click 13. And now we'll choose L. Now we click continue. Now we're going to go ahead and you can unload this mat. So you can press unload. And now we're going to go through super quick, and cut out another one of these sheets here. And basically the point of this other sheet is just so the Cricut can make sure that it's calibrated properly. So it's going to cut that little square for us again. Okay, we've got that printed. Now we're just going to place it on our mat just like the other one. Just like that. Now we can load it on in after we click continue on Design Space. It's loading in that mat. Our printer's making all kinds of noises over there. Now press the button is what Cricut Design Space says. And then it's going to go right again, scan, sense with those calibration lines, that calibration square. So it's going to use that sensor to sense all around there. And then it's going to cut this square again. And this is where I'm talking about it can take you several times because even though we just calibrated it, if this does not cut the square properly, we could click and go through all of these same steps once more, the same exact steps. So now it's going to go through there and cut that square. Now all we do is pull it out and look at that. So that's calibrated pretty darn well. It is touching on all of the sides. I wouldn't give this a 100% perfect here. You can see it's a smidge thicker over here on this side, but it is touching all the way around. So if we go back over to Design Space, if you want to be so nitpicky, click no and let's do a basic calibration, and it will be the exact same steps you just went through over again. So it'll cut all those lines on the top and the right side of the paper, then you'll pick which one is in the center, and then you'll go through, print another calibration sheet and do this all over again. But we know that this is calibrated well. We like how it is calibrated, so now we'll click continue. And now it's going to do a fine calibration is what it is talking about. I'll go ahead and move that. So it's going to cut all of those. Again, real time. I won't speed any of this up for you guys. But maintenance on your machine is something that's just not talked about often enough. This is just one of those things that will keep your machine running like new, especially if you notice changes in the way that it prints and cuts. Okay. And now, same thing. You're just going to pick the one on the top line and the one on the right-hand side. Which one is just perfectly centered with the printed line. And again, you can't see this super good on camera, but you can see it really well in person. And if you can't, if you don't have lights like we have, get you a little flashlight or something like that. But the one that's perfectly in the middle on this one is 12 and L. So I think 13 was the one that was in the center last time, and now it's 12. So 12 and L. So we'll flip over here. The number 12 and the letter L. Continue. Now it is going to do a little cut all the way around this square for us. And now we'll flip back over so you guys can see. Without unloading, examine the cut, and basically the same thing. It just wants to see if it's cut perfectly in the center or not. So let's see if it has. And again, I like to do it by removing it. And that is beautiful. That's a beautiful calibration. You can see there's pretty much perfect amounts of this ink here on all these sides. So this looks really great. And then we'll flip over so you can see here. Yes, it's close enough to the center, or you click no, I'd like to do another calibration. So yes, I'm satisfied, click continue, and then it says the calibration is complete. It automatically will shoot your mat out and you're good to go. You can just go ahead and toss this in the trash and your calibration is complete. I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to calibrate your machine. Now, this will be the same type of calibration for all the machines that you see or you're able to select. We just chose our Maker 3 here today, but the process is 99.9% the same no matter what machine that you have. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you did learn a lot. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Give the video a like. If you love what we do, you love our personalities and the content that you see, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's completely free for you to do that. Takes 2 seconds, and make sure to ring that bell so you don't forget about content like this that we post multiple times a week. No matter what you do today, make sure that you know you are a phenomenal crafter. You are a great inspiration in the craft community, and you are going to do amazing things with your Cricut machine. If you're looking for a community to build you up, to educate you, and to help you, and just kind of shine a light on you and your your crafty skills, join Oak and Lamb. Use that code FUN, get a discount on your first month, and we can't wait to welcome you as a member of our flock. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you another day for another video.